Welcome everyone to tonight's virtual program with Granby Public Library. We are featuring author and metaphysical speaker Sydney Sherman, and her topic tonight is Understanding Your Aura. I'd like to give you a little bit of background about Sydney. She had a thirst for a greater understanding that led her to become well-versed in the laws of nature and the study of Thanatology, and I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah, you did.
Thank you. This led to the publication of her first book, You're Not Alone, Our Loved Ones Are Here, You're Just Not Listening. And then that was followed by her second release titled Gifted Innocence, A Parent's Guide for Spiritually Gifted Children. Sydney's going to talk more about auras tonight, but if you need more information from her or more information about her books, I encourage you to visit sydneyshermanauthor.com because there's lots of information on her website. And so now I'd like to turn over the formal part of the presentation to our special guest, and we'll give a warm virtual welcome to Sydney. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I want to thank hi everybody. I want to thank the Granby Library and of course Holly for asking me to come tonight. This is, I believe, my first time at the Granby Library, so this is awesome. And I appreciate everybody taking their time out of the Thursday night to come and spend it with me. So I can't see all of your faces, and I like to start this in the beginning, but for those of you who I can see, who've got your face up there, how many of you have either seen my presentation before or been to some of my workshops and or read my book? Just put your hand up. So, okay. So Margarita, of course you, Margarita comes with me everywhere I go, just so you know. So, okay, so this is good. So actually you're learning about me and you're learning new things right away, which is awesome. The topic tonight is about understanding your auras, and we're going to get into that in a moment. My assistant, Peggy Wave, she is going to be answering some questions in the chat if you have them that she can answer. So you get your answers right away. Otherwise, other questions I can answer at the end of the presentation. So first, what I start with is I usually tell people a little bit about me. So Margarita, you can go to sleep. You've heard it 90 times. But I want people to know a little bit about me, because if you don't think, you're just going to think that I'm a complete whack. Okay. And not for that reason, I'm not, but I'm not crazy. And everything I'm going to talk to you about tonight is based upon science. Everything I'm going to talk to you tonight, you can find yourself at your local library. So none of this stuff is evasive. It's not something that nobody knows about. It's not something I made up, and it's not something that's new. So that's why I like to teach people about scientific things, because that's real instead of the fallacies that we're told. So a little bit about me. I was born in Milford, Connecticut in 1962. I can see by some of you that you probably were around the 60s like me. For those of you who were not, it was a much different time than it is now. The subject that we're talking about tonight would not have gone over very well in the 60s. You had to keep things quiet. But in the 60s, it was also on a good time to try to find yourself, as you can remember from all the different hippie movements and things like that. Well, I wasn't old enough for that. I was born into a family with a mother and father. The father was a worker and he was a police officer. My mother, a stay-at-home mom, typical for those times. I had two brothers and a sister. I was the youngest. We were in a normal home. We did the normal things. I was in Girl Scouts and brownies, and I was in tap dance lessons, all those fun things. I never knew or assumed or thought that I was different because of several reasons. The first reason being, I hadn't lost anybody in my family yet, so I didn't know anything about death. We didn't talk about death. So when I saw people, who we're going to call them spirits for right now, when I saw them as a child, I thought that they were just people. I thought they were just people. They just looked different. Try to think of it this way. Put yourself back into a young age, and before you were biased about anything, and before the world told you how you should think. When you saw somebody of a different culture, different ethnicity, they're people. They just look different. Maybe their features are different. Their coloring of their skin is different. That's what I thought. Nobody was going to tell me anything different until I was 6 years old and I was walking into my elementary school and started a conversation with my friend Ellen Kelly as we were waiting to go into class. And all of a sudden, this little spirit girl came up and started speaking to me. Well, I started talking back, and next thing you know, Ellen wants to know who you talking to. And I'm thinking, why did she ask me that question? She said, the girl's right here. So I explained this, the girl. And so she says to me, well, there's nobody there. So we go back and forth, tete a tete. She's stupid. I'm stupid. We're all stupid, whatever. And next thing I know, the whole line of kids was laughing at me. And I didn't understand why they were laughing at me for having a conversation with somebody and saying that there was nobody there. It made no sense to me. So I ran home crying to my mother. When I got home, my mother looked at my grandfather and said, take her. Little diversion about my grandfather, because he's very important to the topic today. My grandfather is on the cover of my first book, You Are Not Alone. That's him right there. My grandfather grew up on the Penobscot Reservation in Maine. He was Indian. He did not leave the reservation until he was 22. He was not a learned man because they did not have a lot of education on the reservations. And he was a drunk. That's what they did. They drank, and sad thing, but that's what they did, a lot of depression. So my grandfather, when he married, he came to Connecticut. He married my grandmother. And they would have this thing where he would get drunk. She would throw him out. They'd pick him up. The police department would. My father, being the cop, would have to go pick him up, bring him to our house to detox for a couple of days, and back to my grandmother's house he would go. Wash, rinse, repeat over and over again. So during this time when I had this incident, he was there detoxing. So when my mother said take her, for those of us who were raised in the 60s, I mean, that could be pretty scary because parents didn't tell you secrets. Parents didn't tell you anything. You didn't even dare ask your parents or father how much money he made. You just didn't do that. So I knew something had to be wrong for her to tell him to take me. So we went outside to the old-fashioned station wagon with the wood panels. I don't know if any of you remember, with the back seat, the face, the back, always an adventure. And he said to me, he goes, Sydney, you see who you see and you hear who you hear, and that's okay, but you have to shh. I'm 6. What does a 6-year-old know about shh? They don't. But what came out of that conversation was the fact that I was scared because, obviously there was something going on. He was trying to tell me something was different about me, and I just didn't understand it. So I'm going to explain to you now, and we're going to come back when we talk about the auras shortly, back to this conversation so you can put it all together. I'm going to explain to you what my grandfather said to me that day, the way he explained it to me. So please do me a favor, put yourself back to 6 years old. Okay, try to hear this as a 6-year-old. My grandfather felt, as I do, that we are part of the vast universe of energy. We are part of the life force of energy. And we have been here in our energy form since the beginning of time. And when our mother gets pregnant, we get what he called our candy-coated shell. This is our physical self. This gets cancer, diabetes. This can get cut, bruised, and amputation. This gets sick. This is only allowed to live so long. It's frail, time-stamped. This is our energy. This is our physical self. This is how we all are right now. When it's time for us to die, the physical self goes in the ground or cremated, whatever your choice happens to be, but you're still here. Okay. I was 6. How many of you think that you would have processed that at 6 years old? No. And I got to tell you, for a moment, I thought, Pop-Up's drinking again. But all that came out of that for me, honestly, was a fear of what is he trying to tell me? What does he mean, dead people? What is he talking about? He explained a lot more to me that day, but it didn't make me feel any better. I will tell you that for the most part, I think I as much as a 6-year-old can. There's a story in my first book about playing Duck, Duck, Goose. I don't know if any of you remember Duck, Duck, Goose. We used to be able to play it. I can't play it anymore, just in case you're wondering. It's okay to play dodgeball. You can take a ball and throw it at somebody's head, and, but you can't don't touch. So we were playing Duck, Duck, Goose, and I was never picked. I was not a popular kid. And here comes the most popular kid in 2nd grade, if that's even possible. And he tapped me on the head and said, Goose. Well, I was excited. I got up. I started running. And as I'm running around the circle, I'm thinking to myself, I have to pick a popular kid, because if I pick a popular kid, then I'm a popular kid. That's how it works, right? That's what you do. And I want to be popular. But halfway around the circle was this little girl sitting who was a little more pathetic than I was. She was never picked either. And there was a woman standing behind her that said, pick her. Well, I wanted to be a good kid. So when I got to her, I tapped her on the head. I said, Goose. And I went running and she did not follow. I come back, I tap her on the head again. I said, Goose. She didn't get up. So what do? I look at the lady and I say, she's Goose. I tapped her. You told me to pick her. I did. She's not getting up. And the circle of kids are laughing. And I was like, oh no. My first thought was, oh no, when my mom finds out, I'm going to be in trouble. But I was also mortified. I was very upset. I was embarrassed. So I ran to the school and just waited for the kids to come back in from the playground. And I just knew that they were just going to make my life miserable. But they didn't. When they came in, they took their seats. And my favorite teacher in the whole world said, Sydney, do you want to go out and clap some erasers? Well, first of all, who didn't? For those of us who are old enough to remember chalk and erasers, that was a joy to go outside and clap those erasers. There's nothing better than to get that chalk all over your hands, up your nose, all over your face. For those of you who are younger that did dry erase boards, that's just not the same thing. Patting down the erasers, clearing them was a joy. So out we went. We never said a word. At the very end, when we were all done, she looked at me and she said, you know, Sydney, we're all different. I always wondered if she knew, did she suspect something, or just she just trying to be kind to an embarrassed child. The rest of my life went pretty normal. I went to nursing school. I graduated from nursing school. You know, for the most part, I kept my secret. In my senior year of high school, I formed the first paranormal group in New England, so you can be very proud of it. If you live in New England, then you are part of that history. 1978, I formed Connecticut Ghost Hunters. It was the first paranormal team out there. Much different than the groups that are now, the groups that fill your head with all sorts of nonsense about what happens when we die. And I got married. I had 2 wonderful children. 2012 came along. Here comes all the paranormal shows on TV with the Ghost Hunters, the Ghost Adventures, Paranormal Puppy, all those shows. And I was like, you know what? This is ridiculous. People are missing their loved ones. They're right there with them. Their energy, their aura is right there with them. And they're ignoring it and they're being fed false information. So I'm going to write a book. Now, keep in mind what I just said. I'm a nurse. If you need a catheter, I'm your gal. Right? Writing a book, I don't even read. So, I mean, I can't read. I just, choose not to read. So my husband says, you're crazy. I got a very good editor. And I did write my first book. You Are Not Alone. Well, I thought, honestly, my family feels sorry for me, some friends, and they probably buy it or something like that. This book has been bought, read, and sold on every continent except for Antarctica. And if my lovely assistant wasn't muted, she'd be able to tell you that she's going to send this to the polar bears that live there. So I can stop saying that and stop shaking your head. Nobody lives there. You can tell me all day long somebody lives there. They don't live there. There's nobody. Okay. So anyway, I'm very proud to say that this book is done very well, and it has not been written in different languages. So they're suffering through. And as you can see, it's not a huge novel. It's what I like to call a 2-bathroom read, right? I mean, look at it. It's small. So I'm a little miffed with how good it's doing. And I've asked people when they come to me and say, oh, Sydney, I read your book, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Why?
Americans actually start smiling at one another again.
Hello?
Fully vaccinated.
So I was, I say to them, I don't understand why you would
earn the right to do something that Americans are known for all around the world.
How did we get that?
Greeting others with a smile.
I don't know. How do you get that?
Okay, I've got it. Okay, she's done.
Thank you. I think Wendy's trying to come in again also. So anyway, they tell me it's because they've had experiences. They've had energy experiences. They've had interference with their auras, with other energy beings. And they felt it. And stuff on the TV just doesn't not make any sense to them at all. This made more sense. It was more like talking it out instead of the nonsense that you see on TV. So the book started doing very well. I started doing libraries, TV, journals, newspapers, all the stuff. Didn't really like it, but I did it. So then I decided to write my second book, as Holly said, and it's Gifted Innocence. And the reason why I wrote this book is because, all of you that are here on here tonight can all do what we're going to discuss tonight about auras, seeing auras, knowing about auras, knowing how to work auras. But you can also connect with your loved one's energy, which is in fact an aura. You can do it all on your own. You don't need a psychic. You don't need a medium. You don't need anybody else. You have everything you need right here. You got your senses, your nose, your eyes, your mouth, your ears, your skin. It's all you need, and a little bit of knowledge. So I wanted to write that book because people come to me all the time and say, I think my kid's gifted. I don't really like the term gifted because technically we're all gifted because we can all do this naturally. But there are some children that excel at it naturally. And when we talk about aura colors and hues, you'll understand that a little bit more. I did write a third book for the child called My Gifted Innocence. And it's a book where the child can draw pictures of what they see so they can understand things better. I used to give readings for years and years. I gave readings. I stopped doing that. My son had several strokes. He asked me to stop doing it. I did. For all the mothers out there, I know that if your child asked you to do something, you made a promise, you would not break that promise to your child. So I will not break it either. So do not ask me. I will not give a reading. I won't do it. But there's many other things that I can do that can help you. When we talk about the auras shortly, you will understand that that's really basically the same thing. It really is the same thing. It's just coming back about it a different way. So for the most part right now, my associate Peggy, my friend, and I, we do these presentations. We do workshops on learning to how to do your use your aura, how to see auras. We do workshops on how you can use your senses to connect to your loved ones. We are both Reiki masters. We teach Reiki 1, 2, 3, 4. We both do Reiki. We provide Reiki. Anything energy, everything you hear tonight is going to be absolutely directly related to energy, aura. Okay, so it's all goes hand in hand. You can't really separate the topics. Peggy's phenomenal at Reiki. Peggy excels at pet Reiki. And we're going to talk about that with auras because pets have auras pets have auras as well. So then we're very busy, but we're seeing this tide change now and people wanting education about things about themselves. So I'm very fortunate that the libraries keep me very busy and my speaking engagements, and that Peggy and I have a lot going on. I think this weekend alone, I have like 6 aura consultations coming up, private ones. So it's a good time because the more people that know, the better we're all going to be. So before I get into the aura, which is like right now, does anybody think, just raise your hand, the ones that I can see, anybody think I'm a kook by anything I just said? No? Oh, Marguerite, stop it. I'm going to have them mute you. Oh, you are muted. Okay, anyway. So we're going to talk about auras. So first of all, what is an aura? An aura is your energy field. We all have it. Every living, viable thing has an aura. So trees, insects, bushes, flowers, water, anything that's living has an aura. This bottle of water, although delicious, does not have an aura, okay? The plastic bottle does not, the water does. So the energy of the universe is what controls everything. As a matter of fact, I think it was about 7 years ago now, MIT started coming out with different ways to see how closely tied to the universe we actually are. And it was only about 3 years ago that they were able to tie directly microbes and minerals that are found in the Earth's atmosphere, in the universe atmosphere, that's in our DNA and in some of our cells, in our bloodstream, in our endocrine system, that we share. There's a lot that we share. So if anybody remembers the old song in the 60s, we are stardust. We are absolutely connected to the universe. So it makes sense when we talk about auras and energy that the two go hand in hand. So your aura is your protective field. It's your spidey sense. It tells you, it knows things before you do. So if you walk into a room, your aura actually goes before you. And it senses things. It senses good things, bad things, indifferent things, smells, feels. It senses everything. Your aura is also responsible for keeping you healthy. Your aura is biologically you. It's not anybody else. We all have an aura, but yours is unique to you. All auras have a color to their aura. And again, that color is biologically you. It's made up of your digestive enzymes, your cellular division, your perspiration, your respiration, all the waste product that comes off of you as your body works, gets stuck in this little field, and it gives it a color. So because it's your biological waste and your biological enzymes, it is absolutely you. It is nobody else. It's like a thumbprint. And it tells a whole story about your life from the time you're born to the time you die. It tells about your characteristics and your traits, your likes, your dislikes, what careers you'd be better at, what type of spouse or partner you should maybe look toward. It talks about what diseases or illnesses you are predisposed to. If you know what diseases or illness you're predisposed to because it's written in your aura, you can do a lot of things to possibly stop that from happening. So your aura really talks and tells every single part of your being. It helps you figure out who you are. So only for the people that I can see, because I can't see everybody. I think it's amazing that when we're in school, it's so important that we learn about thermal energy, kinetic energy, nuclear energy, what electrical energy. We learn about all these different energies because I guess it's important for me to know that if I put two chemicals together, I'm going to get a reaction, right? I guess that's important. But we do not learn in school about biological energy, our biological energy, not our biology, not our cellular division, and not our organs and what function they have. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about deep down inside the basis of life for us, our biological energy. We are not taught that in school. And I've done presentations on this, and I've had doctors come up to me and scientists come up to me and say, you're absolutely right. It is not taught in the curriculum, but it absolutely is just as important and one of the many functions of energy that we are used to and that we use every day. So I usually ask people when I do my in-person presentations, why do you think it is that we're not taught that in school? Why are we taught all that other stuff? It's just as important, I guess. But why aren't we taught about our biological energy? What makes us who we are? What makes us function? What makes us have a better life? So that we can know what we're predisposed to. So we can know what to stay away from and what to go toward. Why aren't we taught that? Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't have all the answers, but what I can tell you is I am a nurse. I've been in the industry for 46 years now. And what I can tell you is how well do you think the pharmaceutical companies or the lab companies or the insurance companies or the hospitals or the doctors, or how well do you think all of them would do if we knew from the time we opened our eyes what we were all about, how to take the best care of ourselves, how to avoid the situations that are not good for us? We would be such different people than we are now. So we can't have that, can we? Cannot have that. So a lot of you are my age, maybe a little bit older, a little bit younger. So you're coming into this a little late in the game, but it's not too late. It's not too late to ever learn. And that's why I hope people pass this information down, because as I said before, not making this up, I went back and researched as far as I could. Auras have been discussed in medical journals back into the about 1710, 1714. So it's not new. They've known about this. They know the effectiveness of our aura. They know how the good aura works and a bad aura works. And yeah, it's not taught. And I think that's a shame. So hopefully what I'm trying to do is change one person at a time and give people a little bit of knowledge. So you have it. Every one of you have a color. It's the same color you've had since the day you were born. It doesn't change. I'm going to try to see if I can share my screen with you now, and let's just see if I'm effective at doing it. Oh, lucky me, I got it. Hopefully it pulls up. Let me know when you guys can see it. Just somebody say, hey.
We've got your screen, Sydney. You'll just need to start it, and then we'll get the full image instead of the slides on the left.
Okay. How's that?
Not quite there yet. How about, do you have a begin presentation?
Begin slideshow?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is just how I normally do it. Those things are always on the left.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's as long as you can see the picture in the center. I don't care if you see the stuff on the side. It's up to you.
We've got it. Okay.
So this is your energy spectrum. And when I talk about energy, I'm talking about your biological energy. And for our purposes tonight, we are only talking about your sensory awareness. We're not talking about how much energy you have to lift up a car off a baby or anything like that. We're not talking about that. Your sensory awareness is very important to know about yourself, how to take the best care of yourself, how to sense things that are wrong with you, either in yourself or your environment or the people that you're around or situations. So it's very important to know about your biological energy and how it affects your senses. So if you look at this grid, we start from the lowest amount of energy to the highest amount. I have spiritual on here, which is our loved ones. Now, our loved ones are absent of color because they don't have the biological processes anymore. They don't have digestion, perspiration, but they still have an energy field. They still have an aura. So they will go right here. The next group of people up are called earth tone people. And the next group up are life colors. I'm going to skip the earth tone for a minute, go right to the life colors. It's just easier that way. Life colors, there's only two. There's blue and there's violet. If you are not blue and if you are not violet, then you are an earth tone. It's just easier to say that. Earth tones are your reds, your browns, your yellows, your pinks, your grays, things like that. Should I let Wendy in the room? I don't know if I should. I don't know
I've got her. I've got her in.
Okay, I wasn't sure if I could hit the button or if it throw me off my screen. So we're going to talk more right now about life colors. Okay, so blue, as you can see, I wrote down here, blue equals empath. Blues are you're born with, it's genetic, it's in your family. There's probably several people who are blues. Remember, this is biological energy, and if it's your enzymes, then it's obviously you're linked through DNA. They are very gut intuitive. Their sensory information comes from their gut, things they feel, things they know about that they don't even know how they have knowledge of. Being aware, serviced by the way their body feels that something's happening, something's coming. And blues are very, very kind people. I say they're the best people on the face of the planet. They are givers. They're usually in the helping profession. Usually see them as doctors or nurses or social workers or firemen or teachers or anything in that, librarians, anything in that genre, the helping class of people. That's what they usually do. They can be in other things too, but that's generally where you find them. They are the confidants. There's everybody's best friend. They will stop what they're doing to help somebody, even if they don't want to, and even if it puts their own needs aside. When I do private aura consultations, when I do one for a blue, I always tell everybody, no matter what color they are, the pros to being their color aura versus the cons. Blues are the only ones that I have to tell them that the con to being a blue is the pros. All those wonderful qualities leaves you open to people who will take advantage of you, take advantage of your time, your goodness, take advantage of you personally, and they will cause your aura a lot of damage. And when we talk about that in a little bit, you'll understand. Violets take it a little bit differently. Violets have an increased sensory awareness in the ability to hear, see, smell, and feel. And that's in like what's right in front of us right now, or hearing a car, or seeing a squirrel, or seeing our loved ones who have passed, or hearing or smelling them or feeling them. So the blues and the violets just have an increased amount of this sensory energy to them. So doing things like reading auras, seeing auras, or connecting to their loved ones, or being able to figure their bodies out to make the best decisions and to know what situations to avoid for their health. They just have a little bit of an upper hand and they can figure things out easier. Earth tone people, they can do it too. Absolutely. As I said before, everything that I do, all of you can do. There's nothing different about me. I've just known this information since I was born, because my grandfather, but you can do it too. Earth tone people, they can absolutely do it. There are some earth tone colors that if you are a blue or a violet, you should avoid at all cost. And one of them being a green. Just to give you a little bit to go on. Until you learn to see auras, it really is characteristic and trait definitive. So if you know anybody who's egotistical, maniacal, misogynist, liar, cheater, stealer, has like no soul whatsoever, really will take and take and take from people and not care about the carnage they leave in their wake, that's a green. They really don't care about anybody else. It's all about them. So those kind of people are very toxic to most people. And when they spend a lot of time around people, their negative rottenness, I will say that, unfortunately, most people, it affects their aura by being close to them or being surrounded by them or listening to them or living with them or working with them. So greens are yuck. Reds, reds are another one that are pretty toxic to blues and violets, because reds are, think hothead. So nothing makes them happy. So you can go to a beach, it's a beautiful day, the tiles on the sand is beautiful, the birds are flying, the sky is blue, and all they're doing is complaining about, did you see the sand on the blanket? Why do we have to put it here? The sun's right over my head. I'm going to burn really quickly. Why do people bring their kids to the beach? Do I have to listen to their kids scream? This is them. Everywhere you go, they're never happy. And it's always somebody else's fault. So that's a red. Now, those two are the not nice ones, if you want to say that. Not nice people. They're just self-absorbed, extremely self-absorbed. The reason why it causes blues and violets and some of the earth tones a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress is because blues and violets are extremely rational people. So if people are doing stuff that doesn't make sense, why is he a user? Why is he nasty? Why does he have to lie all the time? Or why does that person have to complain about everything we do? It irritates you and it gets you upset, and therefore it affects your aura. It affects your color. It drains you. And it's that negativity. People say to me all the time about, evil spirits, negative people who have died. Our loved ones who have passed away, I don't care how nasty they were when they were alive, they don't have human emotions anymore. Whatever made them the nasty person they were, the anger, the sadness, the resentment, the fear, any of that stuff, those are human emotions. They do not have that anymore. There is no evil in the dead. There's only evil in the living. And unfortunately, these people who are not good for us, for our aura, for our health, there's lots of them out there. And as a matter of fact, for life colors are the very smallest percentage of the population. Blues are of the two, the blue and the violet. Blue has a little bit more than the violet does, but we're still definitely the smallest part of the equation. Just so you know, my assistant Peggy's blue and I'm a violet, and I'll discuss that a little bit more later. So blue tells you two things. Blue tells you if you have any increased sensory awareness, biologically innate in you, just from being born, and what kind of increased sensory awareness you have. So if you're blue and violet, you're either an empath or you have a sense to hear, see, smell, feel. But what your color also tells me, especially somebody who reads auras, and everybody can learn how to do it, is how the person's doing overall, how they're doing psychologically, emotionally, physically. Because even though your color aura does not change, if you get a headache, say you're a blue and you get a headache, that area above your head is going to look washed out. It's going to look just vague. It's going to look very thin. It's going to look unhealthy. And as soon as your headache goes away, it will rebound. But you're not going to go from being a blue to all of a sudden a green or an orange or a gray or anything like that. Your color is your color. So I can look at a person, and just like you could if you learned how to see auras, and I am going to show you how to do it when we're done here tonight. You could look at somebody and see their overall health, how they're doing. Once you learn to see auras, it's your responsibility, it's your choice, and there's no good way there's no right way, no wrong way. Let's just say you see auras and you see somebody at work and they're looking pretty yucky. And now you know all about auras. Do you go up and say something to them? Do you offer to help them? Do you offer to tell them what you're seeing? Or do you keep your mouth shut? I will tell you, as being the person that's done this all her whole life, I have to pick and choose, because I have had soda cans thrown at my head. I've had people spit at me. I've had people call me a witch. So, you have to protect your own aura. So once you learn how to see auras, if you choose to go towards somebody to try to help them, good for you. If you choose to walk away and say, not today, I can't do that to myself, then that's what you do as well. There's no right or wrong. So that's what your color tells you about your aura. Now, the next slide is your placement. Placement means something completely different. Your placement, and there's only 4, your placement is where this energy from other people, where this effective energy is hitting your body, the good, the bad, the ugly, the whole bit. So as you'll see, the person on the top left is whole. That means they're completely encircled. Their aura completely encircles them. That's me. I'm a whole. So there's good and bad in all these. It means that all this increased energy awareness, all the stuff that's going on around me at work, at home, with my friends, out in public, in the universe, in the environment, all this stuff is hitting my body uniformly. It's not just attacking one part of my body. I'm getting hit directly. Boom. That's where it goes. So that's good that not one part of my body is being directly affected on a regular basis. The problem is, as you can see, there's no outage. There's no way to get out. I'm completely enclosed. So the stuff builds up. This information that comes in all day long. It just comes in, it 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 comes in. And oh my Lord, it just keeps coming in. There's nowhere for it to go. So I get very anxious. I feel overwhelmed. I feel claustrophobic. I have stomach issues. People with whole auras have a lot of autoimmune disorders, rheumatoid arthritis, or like I said, lupus, or psoriatic arthritis. They have a lot of colitis. They have a lot of Crohn's disease. They have problems with hearing problems. They have throat issues, sometimes thyroid problems. So all your aura colors and placements do tell a story about what part of your body is being affected. Once you know what part of your body can be affected by the stress other people or situations your life is causing you, you can put the brakes on to try to prevent these areas from being affected. People with whole auras are also very high at risk for blood cancers or pancreatic cancer. So you'd obviously want to know this, and you'd want to make sure that you do what I have to do every day, which is keep myself clear. Avoid these people I know don't do well with me. Breathe, sage, Reiki, meditate. There's a whole bunch of things we're going to talk about in a little bit, of things that you can do to make sure that these people aren't leaving their nasty on you. So the next person down is called a segmented aura. Segment, as you can see, it circles the person. So I bet you're thinking to yourself, wow, this is great. It's got holes. So what Sydney just said a minute ago was it has a place to go. Well, it does. So that's good. The problem is, as the information, this increased sensory information, what's going on around them, their loved ones talking to them, whatever it is, as it comes in, it quickly goes right back out. It doesn't stay long enough for people to try to figure out what's going on. They know something's going on. They can feel it. Their body can feel it. But before they can make sense of it, it's gone. So that leads people to being very scattered, very apprehensive. They don't like to be the decision makers. They don't want to be the leader on anything because they don't feel that they ever really have a full grasp of all the information they need to make a good decision. They also suffer from severe migraines. They also have trouble with their throats, but in different ways. Theirs is more of an adrenal problem. They have reproductive issues, menstrual problems if they're a female, prostate problems if they're a male, joint issues as far as diffusion issues, like the vertebrae in the back. So there's many different things that they also are predisposed to. Their cancers that they're most predisposed to are brain cancer and esophageal cancer. The person to the right on the bottom has a circle going around their chest. That's called a cardiac aura. And that is what my assistant Peggy has. So she's blue. So she's an empath and she's got the cardiac aura placement. So now you can be a blue and have that placement, and you are a double empath, which is what Peggy is. She's like the epitome of an empath. But you can also be an earth tone color or be any other color and still have that. That still gives you a little bit of empathetic ability by the placement. So as you can see, this person, everything that's coming in, everything all day long, all the good, the bad, the ugly, is hitting them right in the lung, heart area, in some of the epigastric area. As you can see, the person's completely encircled. So as the person up in the top, the whole person, they can't get rid of it. There's no out. Where at least for the whole person, their whole body, so it's more spread out, is dealing with it. This poor person, everything's just beating at their heart and their lungs and their epigastric area, their upper stomach. So this is all day long. Weekends, holidays, morning, noon, and night when they're sleeping, they have the same problems. They also have a lot of stomach problems. They have a lot of sleep issues. They have mood disorders, a lot of depression. They can suffer from multiple personality disorders. They also can go into some very deep depression with bouts of suicide or self-harm. It's a very sad thing. So they have to do the same thing. They've got to understand that's where their placement is, so they can tell themselves, I'm not going crazy. It's because my placement is here, and this is where I'm taking everything in. So they also have to keep themselves cleansed, and they have to meditate, and they have to breathe, and all the things we're going to talk about at the end. The saddest person is the one up in the top right that looks like he's got flames coming out of his head. And I'm sorry, I can't draw better than a stick figure. I just really apologize, but I can't. So this person is called the lunatic placement, and it's actually called the cranial placement. But every person I've ever met who has this placement, they call themselves a lunatic. Notice how the only place this information is coming in, the only place it's being irritated constantly is their brain. Morning, noon, and night, weekends, holidays. The rest of their body is pretty much not affected. Imagine living your day from the time you were born until you are now, which is constant bombardment on your head. The part of our body that's responsible for everything we hear, we do, how our body acts, our biology, everything. And you're just constantly berated morning, noon, and night in there. This person is a mess. They're a hot mess. They usually have no friends. They don't like to be around a lot of people. They feel very uncomfortable. They feel like they're not good enough. They offer nothing to society. They don't really want to be here anymore. They're so sick of themselves and what they don't know what's wrong with them. And the first thing they always say is, what is wrong with me? I like to get people like this early, especially children, because a lot of times children who have this placement are diagnosed with things that they don't have. And I'm not saying ADHD is not a true disorder. It is, but some kids don't have it. It is not their brain that has the problem. It is not their neurochemicals that have the problem. It's the placement of their aura. And once you explain this to them and you explain to them how they can take care of it to make things better, they do very, very well. Unfortunately, if you don't get to them, they have a lot of mood disorders, a lot of depression. They have a lot of anger issues. They also have sleep issues. They have abusive behaviors, alcoholism, smoking, drug abuse, trying to get away from themselves. They're trying to get away from their head or just away from themselves. They don't want to be there anymore. They start mutilation, sometimes themselves, to cause themselves pain so they can try to rid themselves of any of the feelings, and suicide, high rate of suicide. So, if you learn how to see auras, and you will if you practice, and you get to see someone's placement and you get to see their color and you start to put the whole thing together, again, you're going to start seeing things about your coworkers that make a lot of sense. That's why she's like that. And maybe you'll have a little more understanding. Or family members or even pets. That makes sense on why they act like this. It actually opens up a world of things and changes people a lot. But remember what I said, this is something you are supposed to do. We are supposed to see auras. We've always supposed to be seeing auras. There's a lot of documentation, early writings of people seeing life's energy around people. That's what they called it, life's energy. I saw the life energy wrapped around my sister. That's what they were talking about. Again, not new. People readily saw it many, many, many generations ago, and somehow people lost it or put it aside. But you can start all over again. And I'm going to tell you why. So here's a picture of the brain. It used to be a drawing that I did, but it looked like a broccoli or a cauliflower. So Peggy was nice enough for her son to redo this for me. This is not a test, I promise you, but I want you to have a good understanding of why it is that your brain affects your aura and your aura affects your brain. And until you get the brain under wraps, any diseases or illnesses you might be predisposed to, any poor decisions you make, any decisions you need to make, they're not going to be good because you're not able to function as you should. So you have the frontal lobe, which is responsible for higher thinking, higher awareness. As a matter of fact, and I'm going to digress here a little bit. And again, this is another presentation completely, but I like to tell people this. I do another presentation called In Transition, and it's the transition of going from life to death, hence the term Thanatology. So in the frontal lobe is the first thing to stop firing when we go to die, when we're getting close to dying. The rest of the brain is still firing. At the actual moment of death, or probably just slightly before, when everything else starts to die, there's a refiring of the frontal lobe, which is why sometimes you see your loved ones who are getting ready to die smile, or maybe sit up, or look over somebody and point, or start laughing and having a conversation with somebody you can't see. It's because that active firing is starting up again. It's like reactivating the brain. And now, because they don't have any of the junk that's been holding them back, they can see clearer. And of course, and then they pass away and the firing stops in the frontal lobe. So just a little science for you, because I love science. So anyway, your frontal lobe is responsible for a lot of things. It's really the main carrier of the brain. So if your frontal lobe is not doing well, the rest can't function well either. So your frontal lobe is responsible for the higher thinking, how you make decisions, rational decisions, how you see things, how you see your future. But it's also responsible for helping you use the rest of your body to connect to your loved ones who have passed, and also to be able to do things like seeing people's auras. The parietal lobe sits above it to the side. It's for vision, which again, you want that functioning really well to see auras and to see your loved ones who have passed. The temporal lobe sits right around your ear, and that's responsible for smelling and hearing. Again, not so much for auras, but absolutely to see, or excuse me, smell or hear your loved ones. And the occipital lobe, which sits in the back, is responsible for depth. When our loved ones pass away, they do looks like sometimes they're 3D. So you want that functioning really well. And absolutely, when you see auras, you want to have a good depth perception. Obviously, these areas of the brain do much more things than what I'm just discussing here tonight, but for our purposes, that's what we're going to talk about. You can see the little dot in the middle, and there's a bunch of little glands in the middle, but I'm going to talk about one of them in particular. It's called the pineal gland, or pineal gland, as some people say. It's considered to be our third eye. The reason it's considered to be our third eye is because it's supposed to be that fifth sense that they say that we have. It's supposed to be able to allow us to do these wonderful things, to see our loved ones, to see auras, to really see things way beyond our normal vision. And there's proof that our ancestors, even in the Bible, used the pineal gland to its umpteenth degree. And that generations since then have lost the use of it, or greatly diminished the use of it. You've got to get that use back. You've got to bring it back to pristine to be able to make sure you can do what you need to do. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of how to remember this. Pineal gland was responsible for a lot of things, but for the four things we're going to talk about tonight. And it's for the production of neurotransmitters, which is your dopamine, serotonin, your ephedrine, and your adrenaline. So most of you heard of the serotonin, dopamine from the commercials on TV for antidepressants. But you really want a nice flow of your serotonin and your dopamine, nice and relaxed, little excretion here, little excretion there, a nice mix, and your namaste. It's a good day. That's your parasympathetic mode at work. That's your, I'm having a good day, I feel good. Then you have the sympathetic nerve, which when that's irritated by situation, usually, it excretes the ephedrine and the adrenaline, or as you've probably heard before, the fight or flight. It excretes these slightly toxic chemicals into the brain so that your body can react quicker, so you can get out of a dangerous situation or get past something that's uncomfortable. And so it excretes these things, and situationally, that's fine because the body will reabsorb it and it goes away. But again, you don't want it over a long period of time, and you certainly don't want it every day. So I'm going to tell you a little story that the older people, when I say older, I'm talking my age and above, will remember very well. In the Andy Griffith Show, if you remember correctly, on Sunday, if you wanted Sunday dinner, you best go to the grocery store on Saturday and get your gas on Saturday, because everything else was closed down on Sunday. It was a day of rest and family. So Andy's outside the front porch and he's playing his guitar, and Aunt Bee's in cooking Sunday dinner, and Barney's a whittling away on a stick, and everything's namaste. You got your dopamine, serotonin working really well together. You're good. Now here comes stupid Opie running out, chasing a ball that's going out into the road, and here comes Goober coming down the road in his truck. Andy jumps up. He goes from the parasympathetic node into the sympathetic node. Fight or flight kicks in. His pineal gland starts excreting massive amounts of ephedrine and adrenaline to give him that speed. His pupils constrict, he starts sweating, his pulse goes up, his blood pressure, his breathing, everything goes up, and he hauls butt out to the road to grab Opie in the nick of time. Boom, he grabs him. He recoils, goes back into the sympathetic and parasympathetic system, dumps massive amounts of dopamine, brings his blood pressure down, his pulse down, pupils go back to normal, and he goes back to namaste. Again, this is fine situationally. The problem is we don't do that anymore, and we haven't done it in several decades. Between politics and religion and divorces and deaths and family issues and bills and foreclosures and we are a hot mess. We are not where we should be, and we haven't been for decades. Our brain cannot function because we're constantly stressed. And when we're constantly stressed in one way or the other, we're excreting the ephedrine and the adrenaline, toxic to the brain. The brain can't think. If the brain can't think, you can't do things clearly. You can't make the best decisions for yourself. You can't figure out what's going on with you when your body feels something and maybe get to the doctors quicker so you can get the help you need to avoid some of these predisposed things we're talking about. When your brain is not functioning, especially your frontal lobe, you can't see auras. When your brain's not functioning, especially your frontal lobe, you can't see your loved ones. Energy is connected. This is all energy. The brain works on energy and sugar, and you need to have this working well to make sure your aura works correctly, to make sure you work correctly. So that's your brain. I'm going to come out of this. Hopefully I can get, oh, hello, everybody's still there? Hi, I didn't see you for so long. I missed you. Okay, so there's your brain and there's your aura. So just to recap, then I took the thing down. So you have your color from birth, and the color tells you two things. Number one, if you have any increased sensory awareness, if so, what it is, and if you have what your placement is, where this information is hitting you, so you know what part of your body's being attacked. That's what your color shows you. Excuse me, your color and your placement show you. Your brain is what deciphers everything. So go back to that picture before that I showed you with the lunatic cranial placement. We just talked about how important the brain is to your overall body function. Very important. Now, do you see how that person is being bombarded constantly, how they can't possibly do well with life, how they choose to take themselves out versus getting themselves care? When people who feel like that go to the doctors, the first thing a doctor does is put them on antidepressant, anti-anxiety med, sedative, whatever. What that does is that actually works on the neurotransmitters we just talked about when that's not the problem. So it actually makes them worse. So to, again, be able to come to somebody and say, look, can I have 5 seconds of your time? I see auras. I know that you probably don't believe this, but just give me a second. And the minute you start telling them what you know about them, you'd be surprised at how they listen. Somebody gets me, somebody's telling me what I feel, and they listen, and you got them hooked, and boy, you can help them in a second. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing, especially if it's a child. So auras are very, very important. Now I'm going to go back just a little bit to that energy thing that I was telling you about, my grandfather's conversation with the energy. So when I was in 7th grade, one of my teachers, my science teacher, started talking about the law of conservation of energy. Does anybody remember that from school? Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can be manipulated. So I'm sitting there, I'm actually listening instead of, looking at the boy across the, the way. I was listening. And he starts talking about how energy, the universal energy, has been here since the beginning of time. Okay, well, I knew that. And that it can't be created. So I started thinking to myself, well, it can't be created, and we're energy beings. Every philosopher, theorist, biologist agree we are energy beings. There's no doubt about it. End of story. We are energy beings. So because they've proved also that we are part of the universe, we have minerals in us, and parts of our DNA have the same structural mass as the universe. If energy cannot be created, then have we lived before? Is it fair to ask the question, or even think, that we only have the opportunity to have the physical body once? I don't know. That's the theory for reincarnation. people say it doesn't make sense that for all of eternity, I only get to live once with a physical body. You know, I don't know if that's true or not. The science is there. I'll give them that. I don't know if I've been reincarnated. Would I know? Who knows? But I have asked my grandmother and my other loved ones, hey, you know, are you grandma for me and somebody else for somebody else? And I never get the answer. So I think there's some things that we don't know until it's our time. But what I'm more interested in is if energy cannot be destroyed and we're energy beings, then technically we can't die. We can't die. This does. This goes in the ground, cremated. Like I said, whatever your choice happens to be, this was frail and time stamped anyway. But we're still here. I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is exactly what my pop-up was trying to tell me in the back of the station wagon when I was 6 years old. My grandfather would not have known this term. As I said, there was really no education on the reservation. He was not a learned man. He would not have known any of this stuff, but he knew. He knew because he was raised to understand the universe, and he understand how the moon affects us, the tidal waves affect us. We're not getting away from it, guys. We are so connected to the trees and the grass and the leaves and the bugs. You know, we like to think that we're like up here above everything, but honestly, in the world of the universal energy, we are all created equal. So, you know, you may look at a tree and think that, you know, it doesn't have any feelings. They have proof that if you cut a tree, it actually feels not pain like we do, but it goes through transformation and a degree of uncomfortableness. So, you know, we think we're the better group of people because we have smarts and brains and things like that. But again, in the world of the universal energy, all life is equal, and there's not one that's better than the other. My grandfather knew this, and he taught me this from the day, honestly, since I was born, since we had that conversation. This is how I lived my life. This is how my family lived their life. So when I tell people comments or conversations that our family has had about our deceased loved ones, and they look at me like I have 12 heads, you have to understand in my home, that was normal, completely normal to talk about our loved ones, talk to our loved ones and stuff like that. We understood the universal life force. And so again, the only difference between me and you right now is the fact that I had my lovely grandfather who helped me through this. Otherwise, you know, people want to call me a medium and a psychic. It has nothing to do with that. I am a violet. So therefore, biologically, I have the ability, the increased sensory ability to hear, see, smell, and feel that which is seen, like I can see my lamp, and that which is unseen, which is our loved ones. Okay, that's the only difference. There really is none. So if you were born in my house, you would be the one sitting here talking to all you about, and I'd be sitting out there listening. So we're going to talk about how you can learn to see auras. Does anybody remember the Magic Eye books from back in the 70s? Okay. For those of you who don't, you have to, I don't know if you can see me do it, you have to hold the book close to your eyes, relax your eyes, and as you pull it out, all of a sudden, oh, there's the elephant. Okay, that's how it works. Your eyes have to figure out how to hold themselves to make the picture come out. Auras is kind of like the same thing. With auras, you have to know how to hold your eyes to get the aura to pop out. So picture it this way. When people go to an art show and there's a big abstract piece of art and they're, oh, isn't this lovely, the dedication, like, what are you talking about? It's a piece, like I could throw paint all over the place and made a picture too. What they're actually doing is they're using a steady approach to look at the painting, to see the whole painting. Their eyes are not diverting all over the painting. They're looking at the center of the picture with a relaxed eye, and they're taking in the ambiance of the whole picture. It's the same thing with an aura. You're not straining, you're not staring, you're not doing any of that stuff. It's a relaxed center approach. So you need to find a friend, a partner in crime, something. Ask that person to wear a light colored or white shirt. Again, this is just for practice. Once you start seeing auras, you're not going to have to worry about that. And have them stand against a pretty plain wall, a beige wall, a white wall, whatever that you can do. And they don't do anything. They just stand there nice and still with their hands by their side. Now, what you do is you have to find where you see the best view. And what I mean by that is if you're staring at my nose, you're looking at my nose. Okay, you can't do it really now because it's it's on a virtual. But let's just say you're looking at my nose. As you're looking at my nose, without moving your eyeballs, how far up can you see? How much can you see below you? And how much can you see to each side? This is important because some auras are very, very large. And they don't run just to the outside of the body like some people do. Some of them are like 3-4 feet away from the body. So you want to have a wide girth. So what I do is I look at the sternum. I look right here at somebody because for me, that is the best best way. Holly, I don't know if you can let Wendy in. That is the best way for me to see people. I can see really well around them. So try that. Try looking at somebody's sternum and then go up to the chin, then go up to the nose and the forehead. Just see which one works best for you, which you can see the most of the around the person. Do not move your eyes. That's the whole point. You're relaxing your eye, looking at them and taking in all the stuff around you without moving your eyeballs. You only do this for a couple of seconds with a very relaxed, sleepy eye, like you've had a glass of wine or you're just getting ready to go to sleep. And then you slowly close your eyes for a second or two, and then you open them back up. I'm going to show you this in a second. I don't want you staring because if you stare, you're straining your eyeball. It's not going to happen. I don't want you blinking. That's why it's only a couple of seconds because when you blink, you lose it. So with glasses on or without, but I'm going to take mine off so you can see. I'm going to try to get a little bit closer here. So you have your position in sight, nice and relaxed, and then you close your eyes. And then you open back up. Nice and relaxed. You close your eyes. You're not squeezing your eyes closed like this. You're just lightly closing. And you do this. I would not do it for more than 5 minutes because your eyes get tired. Go away, go wash dishes, watch a movie, whatever. Come back and do it again. Eventually what's going to happen is you have to get this thing to start working again. You have to get this to start remembering what it's supposed to do. And unfortunately, the brain learns by repetition. So you really have to do it in repetition so the brain gets used to it. So let's just say Angela, and I'm picking Angela because she's right next to me in the little pictures things. Hi, Angela. Thank you for participating in something. You have no clue what I'm going to ask you. You're a brave lady. Okay, so let's just say that Angela's looking at me, and I've already said I was a violet. And all of a sudden, she sees violet over my head, and it's gone. Boom. Angela, the first thing you're probably going to do, you're going to be like, ah, shoot, I had it. It was right there. It's gone. You're going to be a little bummed, right? That's exactly what happens. It's not going to be like, ta-da, all of a sudden it's just all there. It's going to come in flashes and it's going to build. So rejoice, get excited. Yay, that's all about it. Go back to your spot, relax. Next thing you know, you'll see another flash. Maybe there was one here, maybe there was one here and it's gone. You do it again. And next thing you know, you here, and then down the side right here of my left arm. And then you look again and maybe right here to the side of my elbow, but no matter how hard you try after that, you just can't get it to build anymore. Well, you know what? You don't have to because you've already seen the violet. So you already know I'm a life color and my traits would be that I have an increased sensory ability to hear, see, smell, and feel, right? So you already got that information. So you're good. And I can't be whole because if I was whole, there wouldn't be any gaps. I can't be cranial because then you wouldn't have seen it on my arms. I can't be cardiac because you wouldn't have seen it over my head. It has to be segmented. So you already have enough information, even if you don't see the whole aura. I mean, I don't see everybody's whole aura all the time either. So that's a day where you allow yourself to have some pizza and ice cream together because that's an awesome day. Once your brain gets used to this and says, aha, I see that, I got it. The days of having somebody stand up against a wall in a white shirt, you're not going to have to do that anymore. You can be in church sitting in one of the pews and you're going to be looking at the people. How do you say, she's a brown, she's a, oh my Lord, I got to stay away from her. She's a green. Oh, what did Sydney say about the red? Oh, no wonder she's like that. Oh, that explains her. And that's what you're going to do. It's like a little fly on the wall. As you get better at doing it, oh yes, we're going to talk about you in a second, Peggy. I was going to segue into you. As you get used to doing this and you get more proficient at seeing the auras, you are going to start to see, that's when you start to see the areas of the body that don't look good on people. You can see cancer on people. You can see arthritis on people. You can see heart problems on people. You will get to know what it looks like in that area. Some people get so bad, and I will tell you of all the people I can see on here, and the rest of you I can't. I will tell you a lot of you probably are absent of color in some areas of your body. You've had a lifetime of not caring for yourself in certain ways, of not knowing how to make sure you take care of your aura because you didn't know about it. So it is not surprising to see somebody where it looks like they have a hole punched right here, where there's no color whatsoever, or no color right here, or on their stomach, or over their heart, or someplace else. Because that means there's been so much damage going on for so long that it just went and it's just left a hole. Now that hole can be fixed, and it can be closed up, and you can heal, and you will feel it. When people start working on fixing their auras and getting them healed, they feel it pretty quickly. They really do. They start feeling more energetic. They sleep better. They just feel better. They feel lighter. That's what they say all the time. I just feel lighter. It's a wonderful thing, and Peggy and I love helping people do that. Now, we are not the only ones that need help. Our four-legged friends, are there four-legged friends, Peggy? Did I say that right? Uh-oh. Okay. Peggy, oh, you're muted. Let me know if you can see this. Peggy, you're going to have to get on board here and unmute yourself.
We can see it.
Okay. All right. So Peggy's going to talk to you a minute about pet and animal Reiki, which is the same thing as energy. And so I'm going to let her talk for a few minutes while I have a drink. And Peggy, you just go like this with your hand when you want me to change it. Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. How Reiki helps our pets, from dogs, cats, small mammals to exotic fish or birds. Animals are highly intuitive and sensitive to energies of their surroundings. Reiki is a healing energy that can be used alone or to help enhance healing practices. It helps balance the energy patterns and strengthens the animal's natural healing properties. When an animal's healing is at peak performance, the body, mind, spirit can heal itself. Okay.
Okay, I'll just do it. Go ahead.
Okay.
And Peggy, we've done this a lot of times, right?
So just like humans, animals have 7 chakras. You do the same thing with an animal that you would do with a human. You can go on to the next one. Reiki can help animals by maintaining health and well-being through regular sessions. It helps in aiding in pain management for animals who are ill or injured and old.
Yes.
Reiki for surgery can also help in healing post-surgery. Pre-surgery Reiki can help with relaxation and stress. Reiki is a great way to ease an animal's transition to the new home, environment, or enhanced training. Reiki can help bring peace and comfort to a dying pet by easing the transition into death. We all sat around my dog when she was being put down, and she just laid there and pretty much fell asleep. Reiki is not a substitute for taking your pet to a veterinarian. If your animal needs immediate assistance, please contact your veterinarian immediately. And that's my info if anybody needs it. But it's also in the chat. So if you need it, it's in the chat too.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave it up for a minute now. Just you can all hear me. I don't know. Can you guys see me while I'm on the share screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can see.
All right. So this is a good segue into the things that you can do to make yourself whole and to protect your energy, protect yourself from those people you work with or people you're related to, or your next door neighbors. Reiki, as Peggy just said, is all based on energy. So I'm going to come out of the share here. We're going to talk about that. A few things about what you can do to help yourself. And then I think we can take some questions. So Reiki is, if anybody here has had it before, you know how wonderful it is. Reiki is the use of the universal energy to heal yourself. Well, because, or other people, because you are energy beings, because the universal energy is energy, it works really well together. Our body is also magnetic. So there's a lot of things that work with our body very well to keep ourselves in harmony. One of the things is frequency. So frequency is huge when it comes to your energy. We have a balance, just like the earth has its core and it doesn't like to tilt with its axis. We have the same thing. We have a pole going from north to south and it doesn't like to wiggle. And when it wiggles, it throws us off kilter. We can feel it every part of our body. We can feel it physically, psychologically, emotionally. We can feel the whole thing. So please don't laugh at me, but I'm not going to do the whole thing right now. But something like as simple as a singing bowl. Has anybody ever seen these before? These are great, and I'm going to explain why. So I'm going to put it on my hand like this. I'm going to back up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know how long you can hear it goes on for. Before it stops, you do it again. And this, what it does is it kind of resets that pineal gland. It causes a vibration and it kind of resets. It's like a natural antidepressant. We are a frequency, and these things are toned to give us the frequency, the 444 hertz or 443 hertz that our brain wants to hear. Now, let me explain why that's so important. Do you ever wonder why the monks go, oh, before they go into their meditation state? It's because that vibration irritates a good way the pineal gland. It dumps all this dopamine, which helps put them in the perfect state to be able to meditate. If anybody remembers the song at Christmas time, David played a chord that pleased the Lord. Okay, hallelujah. It's not a chord. It's a frequency. It's not even a note. So if you ever listen to Reiki music or yoga music or anything like that, they are meant to be 444 hertz specific. But what you're listening for is as the music goes along, and it's lovely, it sounds like there's one note that's being held through the whole song. You listen next time you hear a Reiki song. You're listening to the music, but why it's so relaxing, it's hitting that one frequency that's causing the body to relax, the pineal gland to excrete the dopamine, and it's bringing peace, which is why it's so nice to listen to. So one of the ways you can heal yourself is to listen to Reiki music or yoga music or meditative music. That's the 444 hertz. Put it in your car on the way to work. Play it on your phone while you're doing housework. You don't have to sit there and absolutely listen to it. As long as your brain is hearing it, it's doing it itself. It's like a set it and forget it. Reiki is another way you can do it. If you know anybody who does Reiki, you should absolutely try to get yourself some Reiki. Reiki is one of the best ways to get all that declutter out and pulled away from you to start anew. You're not going to heal overnight, but it certainly helps. So Reiki is good. Breathing, it's free. You take it with you, right? Most of us diaphragmatic breathe. We breathe from our diaphragm, which is not what we're supposed to do, but that's just what we do. If you can practice, and in the beginning, be very careful because you don't want to make yourself dizzy. Breathing in through 10 through the nose, very slow, holding it like you're at the top of a roller coaster for a few seconds, and then blowing it to 10 out your mouth. You are eliciting a whole bunch of dopamine. What's happening is your lungs are filling with good oxygen. You're not hurting yourself. Your shoulders are nice and light. Your rib cage are not killing you. You breathe up nice and slow. You're getting all this oxygen. You might get dizzy because your brain's like, what the heck is this? I've never seen you before. Okay. It takes a couple of times and it forces all that dopamine. And if you do this a couple of times a day, a couple of times in the morning, a couple of times at night, this dopamine lasts, this rush, the effects of the dopamine last for several hours. So again, you're in the car going to work, you're breathing, and you're releasing dopamine for a couple hours. Easy, free, you take it with you, no excuses. The next thing that you can do is, oh, thank you, Holly. Okay, so see this little stone right here? This is a rose quartz. I gotta tell you, I poo-pooed any kind of stonework because I thought I knew better than everybody else because I am a violet and violets can be a little arrogant, and I'm sorry, that's just the way it goes. Anyway, but when I started researching it, my grandfather always had stones, but I didn't pay attention. Think of it this way. Not every pebble on the ground or rock, not absolutely not. But certain stones that are part of the earth do things, match our mineral content, our enzymes, our like I said, our minerals that work well with us. Just because this stone has been cut off a larger stone, it does not lose its magnetic properties. Now, the reason why these work so well with us is because we are magnetic beings also, as I said before. So if we use them appropriately, they cause a flush, that flush of dopamine we talked about. You can put it in your hand, never choke a stone. You can hold it nice and relaxed in your hand. And what's going to happen is the little minerals in it here, as your hand starts to sweat, and you won't really notice the sweating, but it's like the little capillaries start to wind up, causes a flushing in the little capillaries. You start to sweat just a little bit under the stone. And there's a chemical reaction between the mineral content from the stone, the salts and things like that into your hand. Some people say it feels like when you first start an IV and it starts to rush up your arm, you can feel it and then you don't feel it anymore. But you can hold it in your hand. You got a headache, you can put it on your forehead. You can put it on your throat. You can put it on your heart. You can use it for a lot of different things. You can keep it on your bedside table. You can put it in your pants pocket at work. When I worked as a director of nursing for years, I had probably about 12 stones in my top drawer, and I could see who was going to come into my office next, and I would reach in the drawer, grab the appropriate colored stone based on what color aura was coming in my office. I would hold it in my hand under the desk, and I'd say, "Can I help you?" Meanwhile, this is helping me push them away. Don't leave your junk in here. I don't want it. I'll listen to what you have to say, but keep your junk out. We talked about the music. Salt lamps. Salt lamps are great. Any of you that can get a salt lamp, I don't care what your aura color is, they're great. They release negative ions into the atmosphere. And everybody's like, I don't want negative. You do. For this purpose, you do. And it breaks up the stagnation. Not only just the stagnation of a closed-up house, but anger, resentment, arguments, illnesses. It just breaks up all that stuff. You could leave mine all day long. Mine runs constantly morning, noon, and night, and I can go put my hand on it right now and I would not get burned. So those are very good too. If you are a blue, just do not keep it near the head of your bed. Great to have in the bedroom. It helps with sleep, but for some reason, if you blues put it near the head of their bed, it ruins their REM sleep. And we all know sleep is very, very important. Sage. Okay. Scents are great. There's certain scents like Peggy has right there. Thank you so much, Peggy. Peggy, and I probably burned way too much sage, but that's okay. The thing about sage is, and there's certain things that work really well with our nasal passages in our brain. There's certain smells, like that sound of the singing bowl, that vibration, that elicits excitement in us or pleasure in us. White sage is one of them. Frankincense is another one. Lemongrass is another one. You just want to really be careful with certain ones because like frankincense and lemongrass, and Peggy will probably tell me if I'm wrong, if you have animals, could cause seizures. So you want to be careful. We like the white sage because the white sage is the go-to for everything. The white sage can be used for any reason, any problem, any headache, any bad dreams, bad relationship, arguments, money problem. It's the go-to for everything. And again, you could be cleaning your house, watching TV, doing whatever you do. As long as your nose is breathing this scent in, it is dumping that dopamine. Now, scientists did a study many years back and found that everybody's different with what smells bring them that calming, that peace, that happiness. So it's not just sage. I like sage because it's just, it's a good cleanser of the environment. But I will tell you that everybody is different, and they tested probably a quarter of the amount of population of people they tested in this one thing. The smell of the person's own feces elicited that calming. Now we all can go, ew, but it is a scent, and some people it elicits that calming scent. So, you know, the world is open to you. If you like a smell that just makes you happy of a nice Merlot and you hold it under your nose, then fine. But sage is very good for clearing the environment as well. Peggy, did I leave any of them out? Talk about the stones. I talked about the sage. I talked about the Reiki. So all this works on your energy. Everything we're talking about here releases that dopamine, that I have to have it. It's your lack of dopamine that got you in trouble, along with all the idiots of the world around you aggravating you and search the circumstances in life. But it's the replacement of the dopamine that's going to help you bring it back to where you need to be. So with that being said,
You did forget one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Grounding yourself, going outside, hugging a tree, walk in the grass, go to the beach,
Yeah.
walking in the water, walking in the sand, it's awesome for to help ground yourself.
Especially blues. Your mother Earth calls you. So going to a stream, going to the beach, listening to a babbling brook, smelling the fall leaves, listening to the rain, it draws you and it heals you. That's what Peggy's also trying to say. So it's a great thing. So private aura consultations, I am doing them now. I can do them through Zoom because of COVID, or you can come on out to my house. They're great things. You'll learn about your color, your placement, where you're predisposed to issues and illnesses and how to fix yourself, what colors are best for you, what people to avoid, especially people or circumstances or situations. Reiki, I think everybody in the world, when they get a driver's license, should take Reiki 1, learn how to heal themselves and their family and their pets. You can't really do anybody else until you advance on, but we do Reiki. And the aura workshops, we do those, and the senses workshops, teaching you how to use your senses to make sure it's your loved one. We're always busy, but you can go to the email and email myself at Sydney Sherman. Oh my goodness, Sydney Sherman author at yahoo.com. Or you can go to my website, is sydneyshermanauthor.com.
They're on the top of the chat.
It's on the top of the chat. Anybody has a pet, especially a pet nowadays, they suffer with COVID too. Absolutely, our pets have suffered with COVID. They really have. They've taken on our junk, and that's what they do. So I don't do pets because I'm just not as gifted as Peggy. But Peggy will do a nice job. I mean, she'll get them all hooked up and happy and stuff like that. So with that being said, I guess questions. Were there questions in the chat, Peggy, that you answered?
Peggy got a few of them done. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Peggy did get a few answered early on. So thank you. And I didn't notice any additional ones as we were going along. Pretty much Peggy got all over that early on. So that was good information. But if anybody, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Somebody did ask a question here. I'm having trouble seeing. Is it JLDENIO?
Okay. Yep.
Okay. You spoke about red and green earth tone auras. Can you speak to other colors? Well, I mean, I can go on all day long with every single color. I will give you 2 more, which is because they're interesting. Yellows can be irritating as well. Think about yellow, mellow yellow. Mellow yellow people are the ones that literally they're not going to make a decision. You ask them, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want to do tomorrow? I don't know. Are you going to get a job? I don't know. They just literally are so laid back. They just are annoying because they just don't want to evolve. They want to move forward. They want to sit in their own filth all day long. That's a yellow. A pink, is anybody's ever watched Saturday Night Live? Kristen Wiig did a character years ago where she'd bring it back, where she'd be at a dinner party and somebody would be saying something like, oh, you guys got to come over this weekend and see my new boat. And she'd twist her hair and she'd say, I have 3 boats and 4 captains and I have 5 houses. And the one-upsmanship, the I created this, I did this first, I thought of it first. It's, that kind of person. Orange is more of a hippie, hippie, free-loving, kind of. Again, to go through every single color, it would probably take a long time, but and they also have things they're predisposed to. There are certain illnesses and diseases or certain careers that they absolutely should go toward and some that they should stay away from. So it's a long list. But anyway, I'm sorry. So there you have a couple more. I see melatonin. Every color but blue and violet is earth tone. Yes, that's true. Oh, Peggy, you answered all these? Yes.
I threw a couple in there too. So.
Okay. Is red considered an earth tone? Yes. Okay.
I guess some of the questions were asked to you personally, so I don't see them.
Oh, okay. Well, does anybody have a question out there first before we actually go to other questions that they asked in the chat that I did not answer or somebody did not answer for them?
So the questions that I got here have all been answered. So if you have additional questions that were sent to you directly, Sydney, then and if you've covered those, then we've got all the chats covered. So at this time, we could take we're running pretty late at this time. So
Sorry.
that's okay. It's okay. So for those of you who would like to leave and move on and don't want to feel like you're offending anyone, we certainly understand. So if you want to leave the meeting, it's okay. Please don't feel guilty about that, or any of those things that I hear about afterward in the emails that I get the following day when people are apologizing. You don't need to apologize if you have
Oh,
to
no.
go. But we can stay for probably another 5 minutes. So if there's a question out there and you would like to unmute yourself, please do so. I can't, if you've got your hand up or you want to ask a question, some of you I can't see because your images aren't there. But if you'd like to unmute, do that now. Now's a good time. And we'll try not to talk on top of other people. But
if anybody doesn't have a question, you think of one later, you have my email. I will always answer a question. Email me. People think of questions later. You'll be surprised. After these events, I usually get 5 emails that night from somebody and usually 12 the next day. So it's fine.
well, on that happy note, I think we're going to end our program. This was fantastic. I don't know about the rest of all of you, but I was fascinated by all the information that Sydney was sharing with us.
Thank you.
We will put the recording out on our library YouTube channel, and hopefully I'll be able to send all of you an email with that link so you'll know how to find it if you want to refer to it again. And of course, then you'll have more information about how to get in touch with Sydney or Peggy if you want to follow up at another time. So Sydney, thank you very much for joining us this evening. And yes, and thank you everyone else for taking the time out of a busy, beautiful spring day.
Can I say one last thing?
Absolutely.
I forgot to say it, and my assistant's probably wondering why I haven't said it. I do have a lot of other presentations on other topics, as you probably know. So if you go to my website, you can see other events where I'm going to be having other presentations. Because there's a lot of information I threw at you tonight. You're probably thinking, well, what about this and that? I probably cover it in another presentation. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, everybody, for spending the time with us tonight.